I'm always interested in things that we don't call art, and I'd say, well, why not? I mean, what could I do to this to make it art? How could I change people's minds?
By making art. By making art.
Yeah, I love it that I all of a sudden, because I said it's art, somebody believes me. What interests me in life is the absurdity in life.
Hey, John.
I'm reading.
Okay, I got these new ones.
That's good.
A couple of them.
Good.
That I have some questions about. Put them up.
Art making is about making a choice. For me, it was like you choose one thing over another, this color over that color, or this object over that object, or on and on and on. You have to make a choice.
Okay, so the questions that I had about these ones are, I know that you want these framed individually, but do you also want these framed individually, or are they just going to be one print that's framed in one
They'll
frame?
be a single frame.
Okay.
Well, maybe not now, but later. I have other questions that we can talk about.
Okay, no problem.
My emergence in the art world, I was linked with conceptual art, minimal art. Never quite totally subscribed to it. I thought it was a little boring. But there were a lot of things I did want to shed, and one of them was being tasteful. That's one of the reasons I gave up painting, because it's all about being tasteful, the right red and next to the right blue, and you're very carefully mixing the colors. I just decided to be very systematic about it and use the color wheel. Yeah, like the guy, the green guy, he might be too green. I don't know.
Oh, yeah?
I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah, a little toxic green.
Yeah. I don't know. Anything else? My father was Catholic. My mother was Lutheran. I went to a Methodist church. That was the local church. I certainly got a love of literature, reading the Bible, the King James Version. And I got a real sense of moral obligation, and I think that's why I was a late starter in art, because art didn't seem to do anybody any good that I could see. It didn't heal bones, it didn't help people find shelter or whatever, and I wanted to be a social worker, I think. Got to say, I owe it to my sister. I got my degree in art, and she said, well, how are you going to support yourself? So I got a teaching credential. Teaching is about communication. Lecturing doesn't do it. You have to see the light in the student's eyes that they get it. And if you don't see the light, then you try another approach and another approach until they get it. And then I realized that art was about communication. I was learning how to communicate by teaching. And then the art infected my classroom teaching, trying to be inventive there. And in effect, I was saying, the art I do is what I'm talking about in the classroom, and vice versa. They're interchangeable. One thing I'm trying to teach students how to look, I said, if you're looking at two things, don't look at them, look between them. Because there's that stuff too, that's just as important. But we prioritize. If I'm looking at this wall over here, it's normal to look at something pinned to the wall. I'm not looking at the space between those two things, but that's very important. Words are just a way we communicate. Images are a way we communicate, and I couldn't figure out why they had to be in different baskets. I think in my multiple image pieces, I probably have this idea that there's a word behind them. I'm probably building like a writer or poet builds with words.
John came to my studio at UCLA and we had a meeting, and he said, I have an opportunity for you, which was very exciting. I mean, just to hear that, right? Like, I was like, you know, I knew some of my classmates were maybe working for him, doing a little painting or working, doing a little Photoshop for him or something like that. And I said, wow, okay, what is it? And he's like, well, I just got this dog and I need someone to walk him. And I said, okay. I'm like, let me think about it. He knew I was having a little trouble at school, you know, like with my work and going through a little grad school crisis in terms of ideas and so on. So he said, okay, every Monday you have to bring work to me. And so we began. I think he taught me to be human when it comes to the work. You know, there is something very humble about the way he works. He comes here every morning at the same time. He shows you how, you know, it's a long process. I mean, it's a lifetime commitment to the work.
In the early years, I would just make work, and it would be shipped to the gallery, and then one would spend 3 or 4 days moving works around to see how one spoke to the other, how the size of one work would relate to the size of another. You know, all of those problems that would make hanging one work next to another less good than another hanging. And I would always ship more work than I needed because you never know what you're going to need. I did a retrospective show that started at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Los Angeles, and I saw how they had a model and worked with everything, and I said, well, why don't I do that? This is a model of the house Lager by Mies van der Rohe in Krefeld, Germany. Well, one of the principal things I'm doing with the Mies van der Rohe house here is to use his materials in a way that would be more than he would have used them. And the principal material here is brick, which he wasn't particularly fond of. Curiously, he did work in his father's brickyard, so he did have some familiarity with the material. All of the outside walls, where there's a window, they're covered up with fake brick, so you will see no windows whatsoever. And Mies van der Rohe was very careful in framing the views of the garden. Where there is a window in the walls, there will be substituted views of the Pacific Ocean and landscape in Southern California. But in front of each window, there will be one Mies van der Rohe chair where you can sit and contemplate the view. Then in one wall, I'm having manufactured as an addition, a couch in the shape of an ear, flanked left and right by 2 upturned noses as sconces so that you'll either have light or flowers coming out of the nostrils. So I figured it's everything that Mies van der Rohe would hate. And rather than glorify Mies van der Rohe, he's had enough glorification. I just thought I would, poke a little fun of him to reverse Mies van der Rohe. Actually, I started using stills from movies, not because they were from the movies. I could get the pictures cheaply. For me, it's using this data bank of images people carry around in their head and then playing with and rearranging those images for them. A lot of photographs I had bought would be from newspapers, and they would be local celebrities, whatever, the mayor, the fire chief, some dignitary. And a lot of them, they would be pointing to things, shaking hands, smiling at it's a photo op, the kind of thing, standing with the president, that sort of thing. And I was attracted by, repulsed by these people, and I realized why I was repulsed by them was that I was there isolated in my studio, and these people were making decisions that would probably affect me, and I was not doing anything about it. And that was one of the arguments I had with art in the first place, that it's not doing anything. I was using these price stickers, and I just put them over the faces, and I said, wow. The phrase I keep using is it leveled the playing field. All of a sudden they had no power on me, and I really saw them for what they were. They were replaceable, even though the person changes. I think my idea is this. Not so much structure that it's inhibiting. There's no wiggle room, but not so loose that it can be anything. I guess it's like a corral. It's a corral around your idea that you can move but not too much. And it's that limited movement that promotes creativity. I've been working over the years with various body parts. I think I started out with noses, and then ears, then noses and ears. And now I'm doing foreheads with furrows and eyebrows. You always come back to the same idea, but from a different direction. We're going to do dog eyebrows next.